You said Lamar Jackson, always when the Ravens lose, he gets blamed, right? It's always going to be with the quarterback. And no surprise, Stephen A. Smith had a reaction and comment saying that, again, on First Take, should Lamar be the one blamed here for the Ravens 0-2 start?
I push back on that, Shay, is because, a suspect offensive line that helps you accumulate 11 penalties for 109 yards might have something to do with their lack of focus on the running game. So we can't forget that. That might have something to do with why Derrick Henry wasn't seeing the ball more. I'm just a thought. Yep. I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to put a lot of it on Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, fellas. Isn't he the two-time league MVP? I think that's the right.
Yes, sir.
He's a two-time league MVP. I mean, I'm being facetious. Of course I know this. But the point is this: two-time league MVP. You have a situation where you have a 10-point lead with 12 minutes left, and yet again you can't hold on to it. And oh, by the way, the Baltimore Ravens, for the first time in Lamar Jackson's career, have lost 3 straight games: AFC Championship game, and then games 1 and 2 of this season. The man hasn't won his last 3 starts. When we gonna look at him? You got your bag. You got the MVP stature. You the man. Go out there and figure it out. It's really, really that simple. Now, I'm not saying that he has to do it by himself because we know better than that. But the reality is that the game was there for you to win. You had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter with 12 minutes left. Shay, you just finished saying that Dak Prescott, last time you checked, he does get the ball back. You can get some touchdowns up in there, right? Well, the same thing's applicable to Lamar Jackson. You get the ball back too. When the opposing team puts the ball in the end zone. What you going to do about it? How many fourth quarter leads are you going to lose? That's a legitimate question that I think that he needs to answer.
Okay. So, could Lamar always play better? Of course he could. But was that the reason yesterday? No. And I want to look at this. Lamar's final stats, by the way, if we're going to really dive into this. Lamar was 24-31, 247 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. That I couldn't see with the replay if that ball was deflected or it was Bateman. Do you have it?
Yep.
Jackson.
Yeah, there you go. Anyways, that went right into Bateman's hands.
So
they'll show the replay here as well. They should. But it went right in Bateman's hands. So, yes, technically we'll look at like a INT on Lamar's stat sheet, but this was right in his hands. Bounced right off of Bateman's hands. This is by no means Lamar's fault, in my opinion.
So that happens there, right? So we understand with that. I think the bigger part for me, guys, the Ravens, despite they put up 26 points, you had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. You could say a lot of different things. And I know that Lamar and the Ravens, and when they have the numbers here by quarters, Brad, right, about how much the Ravens are better in the first and the second and the third quarter. And the fourth, they're actually in the negative, according to True Sports Media. And I think that Ryan Mink put out that tweet. And the point kind of looking at all of that, I think the bigger part is the Ravens had 109 penalty yards. Now, a couple of you can say, could they have been called? 109, right, was the number? I'm not losing my mind.
11 for 109.
11 for 109. The drives for the Raiders in the second half, after the Ravens took a 10-point lead, the Raiders cut it to 3, 7-play, 46-yard drive, and that was after the interception. Then the Ravens matched. They're up 23-13, and then Vegas gets a field goal. It's a 2-minute and 50-second drive. Then a 9-play, 70-yard drive, 3 minutes and 42 seconds. So we're saying about a team effort for Baltimore. It's not just the Lamar Jackson issue. It was a team issue yesterday, right? And also that first play after they tied the game up and Lamar's dropping back to pass and no one bothered to touch the one guy that should be the target to get, and Max Crosby gets home, and then you're 2nd and 19, just like that, in the blink of an eye. Guys, the offensive line is surely an issue. It's a problem right now, and that's not sugarcoating it. But it does seem like the Ravens, with a Gardner Minshew-led offense, that a 10-point lead should have been enough, especially when the Ravens still did put up 23 points. And it seemed like the Raiders could do what they wanted to do the last few drives.
Well, Max Crosby could have, that's for sure.
Well, Max Crosby could on the offense or for defensive side for Vegas. But the Ravens they didn't close out some drives. And Devontae Adams had some big catches. I know that pass interference on Brandon Stevens, right, was one that could be. But, hey, I'm not – they had plays that they could have made. I think that's the bigger part here, Kev, is that there are plays that could have been made for Baltimore. The number one option on offense beat you in Devontae Adams, and the number one priority on defense game wrecked.
Well, the big part, too, is not only plays could have been made, but challenges could have not been thrown. And you look in this argument by Stephen A saying, well, doesn't Lamar get the ball back too? Well, Lamar got the ball back with 27 seconds left, when in reality, if we had seen, I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. I don't know if you guys saw it.
It was very obvious.
The clear and obvious, both the Zay Flowers ball that hit the turf in the first half and then the Devontae Adams play where clearly it was catch, 2 feet, possession to the ground, no ball movement. And whatever the conversation was between the replay guys for the Ravens and John Harbaugh, he decided to throw that flag, cost them a timeout in the second half. And what do the Raiders do driving down the field for the game, winning essentially field goal?
Right.
They walked them down, and it would have been really nice if the Ravens had an extra timeout to be able to stop that clock. And Lamar Jackson all of a sudden gets the ball back with 1 minute and 7 seconds left instead of 27 seconds left.
Right.
And so we can all, we can play the blame game and say, oh, did Lamar miss a couple of throws here and there? Sure, he missed a couple, but this by no way in any stretch of the imagination is on Lamar Jackson. You can place different levels of blame on a lot of different people. And obviously with the quarterbacks, sure, it's going to come back to him. But I don't know how you watch that game and say, well, it's Lamar Jackson's fault. There were just so many other things that went wrong. He is so far down on that totem pole before anything else.
I think,
Go ahead.
the play calling has to be part of the conversation, right? Like, I mean, there's been this blowing leads in the fourth quarter happened well before Lamar Jackson got to the organization. And I'm not saying it's any one person, but the play calling just has to be better. It just has to be. I mean, Dan Orlovsky also talked about it being very predictable, right?
Yeah, so let's play that clip there because that's another point I want to dive into for the Baltimore Ravens. And to wrap up that last point before you play that clip, the Vegas Raiders, for time of possession yesterday, the Raiders possessed the ball longer than the Baltimore Ravens for over 30 minutes. Gardner Minshew was 30 of 38 in this game. And maybe just Gardner knows how to play in Baltimore. He was a part of that Colts team that won here in that wild, nasty, sloppy game in Baltimore last year. But Gardner Minshew felt like he was comfortable. And also Raiders had 5 sacks on the day, Baltimore with 2.